Hi, I'm Joshua Curving, and welcome to another DBXamination, where we're going to be taking a look at the most recently announced DBX and determine who would win in an actual fight between the two. But first, let's actually talk about that last one, because the Lucario versus Blaziken DBX was probably the best one that they've ever done. Like, damn, if you haven't seen it, go check that one out. The winner itself didn't surprise me too much. I knew it would be a fairly close call, but just the animation was stellar. Like, it's fucking good. There's nothing I can really say too much about it. Just the fight choreography was fantastic. The person who headed up the project was a Joe. I don't recall the last name, but he apparently hasn't done any actual death battles so far. So they need to get him on some official death battles if he's got a work output like that. Just the creative uses of all of the Pokemon, and just yeah, that was absolutely stellar. So then we come to Goku versus Gon. Now, one thing that I will admit right from the get-go is that out of all shonen series that a lot of people watch, Hunter x Hunter is not one that I'm familiar with, at all. But I've done a little bit of looking around, and I've had a pretty busy week, as you can tell with the haircut, as you might be able to guess from that. I've actually recently gone back to work and stuff like that, so it's been a bit more of my time. So I haven't had too much opportunity to look too deeply into this one, but in general, what I get from it is that largely Gon should take it. I know that sounds crazy considering Dragon Ball, but Dragon Ball didn't really get too powerful until Dragon Ball Z, and with the earlier series, it capped out somewhat around city busting, though with Roshi's moon busting, it is a little bit more questionable. Apparently, a lot of people are against scaling characters to that moon busting feat, specifically for the fact that it was such a huge outlier for the time until Dragon Ball Z came around. Considering that King Piccolo destroyed a city and was drastically exhausted, and it was stated to use all of his power. So I find that kind of interesting that he's just accepted to be that feat doesn't really count too much. It's kind of interesting. And then so counter that, basically from what I was able to find, if Gon stays in his normal form, he does lose fairly handily against Kid Goku. But if he goes into his adult form, which from my understanding, there isn't really too much of a stipulation as to why he would not be able to in an actual death battle. He just has to want to kill the person firmly enough, and then sacrifice some of his nen to do so. Which puts it completely on the table as far as an actual death battle goes. And allegedly that puts him at a higher degree of strength and speed than Goku has. And honestly, even up to this point in Dragon Ball, Goku's always had the problem that he is really, really, really just a stat brick. He doesn't have a whole lot of actual abilities in terms of utility. So if someone is simply stronger and faster than him, they're usually going to have a pretty good shot. Whereas there are some times where if someone has a little bit of a disadvantage in the stats, but then has some sort of time stop or invisibility, things like that that can help to bring you up, you can sometimes make up for a bit of a stat disadvantage. But in this case, Goku just never has had anything for that. And this is before even he gets any, most of his key projectiles other than just the Kamehameha. As for who I think is going to win the vote, that's obvious. Goku's gonna win. Like, no. I think it's not gonna be very close at all. If I had to guess, probably about a 25 to 75 split. And this one's going to be a sprite animation, which should still be entertaining. But after that last one, oof, it's going to be hard to get to the next one made by that person in particular. But yeah, that's all I've really got to say for this one. It's a bit of a shorter one, just because I didn't have too much time to look too deeply into things. But with the advantages that Gon has in his adult form, I just think that he would be able to more or less overpower Kid Goku. And I do find it slightly interesting that this is, I think, the first time that they're using a specific incarnation of a character, so that it's not the full story of them, it's just a specific version. Right, and so I will see you guys for the next one. Have a good one.